thought I'd do my bit and wear my
Yeah, there we go. Nice. We're all Krämered out. We all have our little logos. I love it.
All sorted. Yes.
Well,
indeed.
thanks so much for agreeing to do this with us. So I'll give you a little history. We know that women are a little kind of underrated in the entire motorcycle world. So we're trying to just shine a little spotlight on them and eventually also move into maybe some younger women or girls specifically that want to get started in this and kind of push those things in that direction and give a little inspiration, because everybody kind of needs sometimes a role model. So that's kind of where this whole thing started off here. Yeah.
Whereabouts are you from in England, just to start with?
Oh, I'm actually from Jersey, if we're going to be really specific.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
Channel Island, I was raised there, born there and lived there till I was 20, and then came over to the UK for university. I live in Derby because that's very near work.
Yep, sure. What did you do at university?
I did aerospace manufacturing engineering up to masters.
Cool.
What about you guys?
Go on.
Oh, I'm coming from a whole other world. I have a bachelor's in, I don't even know if that's even a bachelor's in England, but it's a hospitality management. So I ran like wedding venues and events and things like that. And yeah, just moved to Germany and yeah, kind of crazy long story and ended up here. So
awesome. Okay. So Melissa, you cover what are your two job roles? So
I have wear a lot of hats. Officially, I am the director of operations. So we got to make sure we get bikes out the door. But that also handles dealing with all of our dealers. So I talk with them on a weekly basis if I can. Sometimes it's not always possible. And I'm also in the social media and marketing and sales departments.
Jesus Christ, you're doing everything. Like in a kind of weird twist of like fate, like what you're doing is also incredibly pivotal as a woman in the world. And obviously you've got a great ally. Sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
Finn.
Oh, me, Finn.
Finn. Okay. And what do you do, Finn?
I'm a junior designer, so I started an apprenticeship and I'm pretty deep into that at the moment. So I'm working a lot on design parts, and I'm also then test rider for Krämer. So I'm juggling between both roles as an engineer
and social media and some stuff like that too.
Brilliant. Okay, just give me a sense of context. Thanks. I'm just nosy.
Yeah. No worries. No.
It's always good. You can interview us too. Then we're all a little ready to go.
Work. Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to adjust my screen so I've got Krämer in. So
yeah, like
doing good now.
We'll start the interview in a second, like the questions then. So we can cut into that.
All right. Yeah, I'll get started. So how did you get into motorsport?
Oh, motorsport. That was my very first track day at a track called Mallory Park in kind of the middle of England, roughly. And I took my Honda CBR 600F there with the rack on the back of it, and they made me wear a high-vis jacket. And I'd kind of rocked up, took my luggage off, and then started riding it around the circuit. And the instructors were like, where did you learn to ride like that? I was like, that's just how I ride. So I was just round the outside of this really, really long corner called Gerrard's. My arms are going to get involved now because I can't help it. So it's going around Gerrard's, just overtaking people, obviously in the novice group, but just like hanging down, like, why are they going so slow? And that kind of led to a kind of the instructor asking how did you manage to ride like that? And then me going, it's what I do. And he kind of encouraged me to take it a little bit further and just said, you should do a few more tracks and see how you get on. And then my friend who was I did some track days with, she was like, should we go racing? I was like, yeah, I think we should go racing. She got a van, I got a Honda CB500, and then I found myself with the lights going out at Brands Hatch, screaming my way into Paddock Hill Bend. I was like, all right, I'm definitely racing now.
Awesome. That's nice. You started on these lighter weight bikes, the CB500 as well. It's a really good starter bike, I've heard.
Oh, absolutely, and it's right in that kind of budget category of very throwable bikes, not too much fairing to worry about, and then you could kind of pop on a new set of handlebars if you needed to. But they are budget bike capacity for sure.
We know you've been racing the Krämer recently as well, or in the Super Mono, and that's obviously a chuck around bike. Could you talk us a bit about that?
I'd absolutely love to. And on reflection, I've just done like a motorbike launch, and we were all chatting in the pub about what our favourite race bikes were, and it was hands down the Krämer. And I'm not, obviously I'm chatting to two strong Krämer advocates here, but in terms of the absolute chuckability of that bike, but the fact it's in a kind of, it's designed to be tracked or raced, makes it a very safe but very agile package, whereas most bikes are a compromise from all the way from a CB500 where you're compromised to then take it to the track. The Krämer is like track focused first. And when, especially the bottom of the Cadwell Park Mountain on one of your bikes, the 690, is flipping brilliant because it's so easy to take it into that left and then drive up the mountain. It's so light, and then it just picks up really gently because you've not got stupid power and you just crest over it. It's just one of my favorite feelings, and you don't get that with scary horsepower. You get that with a bike that's designed for the track and designed for you, and beautiful.
Sure. And also with the leap at Cadwell, can you talk to us about the feeling of that on the bike?
Yeah, I think I just did. Yeah, it's just like, it's just a really gentle, it's almost like a pendulum swing as the front rises. I attack the mountain from the left because I just think it smooths it out a little bit more, and you make more of a corner out of as it curves right, because it's just a long right hander. It just happens to have a cheeky little hill in the way, but I find that just balances out the front, so it just lifts ever so slightly, and then you drive kind of near the limiter but not too much, and then smash into whole end. Brilliant.
Nice.
If you could give some advice to some younger women out there who are thinking about getting into motorsport and maybe haven't found the nerve to get out there and do it.
Oh yeah. So it depends where you're at, really, because there's loads of different ways to try motorsport in general, and it doesn't have to be what I've just described, which is go to the track and do high speed versions. A lot of fantastic race winners have started off in motocross or something a bit softer and easier to learn. So I think I started on tracks initially, but I think it would have been really good to try pit biking a little bit, or kind of smaller motocross circuits, maybe even mini bikes up to a point, but they're quite harsh to sit on, and you're quite cramped. So I think there's softer ways to learn skills and moving around, and the feeling of competition in a smaller environment where it's not perhaps as overwhelming as you're all piling into the first corner at Redgate at Donington. So it's kind of look into your local areas, think about off-road just as much as on-road. And if you are absolutely road focused or track focused, just go and book a track day, go and put yourself in the beginners group and go and see what happens. Like it doesn't really matter. Most people will get out of your way, and then you can find your own way around. But I think it's just go and do it rather than I'm a bit of advocate of trying it out, and it's not that expensive relatively. Motorsport does have an expense to it, but there are ways of bringing it into a budget if you just pick the right location and pick the right bike.
You've got a nice mentality to go into this, not really worrying about anyone's opinions. Kind of just sounds like you're just going to be like, yeah, just get on with it, try it out, have some fun with it. Yeah. Is that the kind of mentality you think people should be going into this towards? Let's not think about who's watching my lap times, let's not think about anything like that. Let's just go there and have some fun. It's
yeah, you're absolutely right. It really doesn't matter. I'm quite yes, it does. It doesn't matter. There's probably a level of you think you stand out because you're female, and maybe people might you feel a bit more obvious because generally the demographics on these events are more male dominated. But it's one of the things I try and keep reminding myself is that it doesn't matter. It's not all about you. It's about the ride, the track, and you having a good time. And it just take that away and dissolve that kind of worry bead. But on the other benefit of it, there are dedicated kind of all female days where just go for it, because it doesn't really matter then. So can I, sorry, I think I've gone off track ever so slightly. Can I have your first question again, please?
Well, just actually go forward with the female track days. That's something we don't have here in Europe, but would be
Was
really
just
cool.
gonna say
We'd love to
that.
hear more about that. What's your opinion on these track days? Is it particularly only female riders for a session, or is it the whole day, or what are we talking about?
Okay, so there's a few options. Some of them I've seen where they've enforced it to be only female, and there's a couple of motocross circuits that have done it, where it's an all-female day to bring on new riders. And there was a couple of, I think it was Maria Costello who pioneered an all-female track day to get more women involved. So it's certainly it's happened. I'm not aware of any recent ones, and I think that in a way, I do think it's definitely an opportunity because we've got female Formula One, haven't we, at the moment? Or kind of female. I need to remember, perhaps describe that a little bit better. But do you know what that's actually called, so I can quote it properly?
Yeah, not sure if it's the FIM of Formula One, and also then you've got your FIM of the women's racing. I think there's both series FIM. Again,
Yeah.
I'm not for sure on that one, but
So there's a dedicated racing series just for women, and there's definitely, it's a stepping stone program, but personally I'm an advocate of not having gender split classes, because in a beautiful way, gender hasn't really got in the way of motorbiking. It's about your bike and the track, and it doesn't matter who's riding it, because there's not really an element of physicality. If you're a capable bike rider, then you can make the bike do the work for you. You can change your clip-on, change how the clip-ons are, change the rear sets, customize the bike for you. And if you want to start, racing significant horsepower, then get in the gym, because that's the only way you're going to start wrestling around. And there's plenty of phenomenal female athletes that have dedicated themselves. Like Anna Carrasco is flat out proper in the gym, like getting the guns, getting her body ready for the challenges ahead, and anyone can do that. And the other thing that I think is worth noting is that the association of women and being scared is absolute BS, because there's plenty of all genders concerned about what it's like to be on track. And it's not just for us. Anyone's going to get worried. My husband is nervous about his first track day just as much as any other rider, and he wants to feel safe. And so I think all female events can be quite are almost trying to find the word not inclusive, and I think that's a risk. But on the other side of the coin, to bring more women into racing, and you want to kind of get them together and make a jump to get them, accelerate them into an equivalent class with both genders, I think it is necessary to kind of boost that and get them up to speed, and therefore then they will compete in a mixed environment. I think that's required. So I think yeah, purely specific female racing classes are necessary to kind of level the playing field, and then we fight together.
So you've answered that really well, actually. I'm really happy with your answer you gave there. I think you've taken one of the questions off of our list already by answering that. So yeah, spot on. Do you want to pick one?
Do you feel that you have really faced any adversity because you're a woman, or has the stepping stone process really helped you, like you just described?
I've certainly not felt. To be honest, I really haven't, and I'm a little bit rose.
But that's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that gives the motorsport a great name. That's not.
I am a bit. I'm a bit of an optimist, and I don't really remember anything particularly awkward happening. I think if anything, I've got I've got great male allies that have just helped me along the way, and not been patronizing when I've needed a little bit of help and support. And the paddock life, especially with Thundersport GB, who I used to race with, you can pretty much knock on anyone's door and go, what should we do around this corner then? Like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Where are you braking? And just sharing that kind of love. The only thing that, I don't know, I think it's probably dated now, but if someone overtakes you and they've got a plait around the back of your head, like there's a plait like waving in the wind as they go past, are they going to feel, is it emasculated? No, is it, emasculating. I think of the right language. I'll start from the top. But if your ego is going to get offended because a girl's overtaken you, then I think that's kind of like a you problem.
Not a girl problem. Agreed. Yeah.
And
do you ever get to see their faces as you're like flying by them?
No, because I'm too busy thinking about what I'm doing on the track.
I'm rolling. I love it.
The only time, one little anecdote I remember was, it was like an early track day. I was around Darley Moor, which is a bit of a kind of a tricky little small circuit. And I was on a GSXR 600 S-Rad. So one of the big kind of, I think they call them like a duck arse. They've got a big fat arse on them. And after a few sessions, a chap popped round to our tent, and it's like, what's he got in there then? Is that the 750? And I was like, no, that's a 600, just like yours. And it was just fun to just. It was a bit silly, but it's just to see his face like, oh, all right, okay, fine. Like looking for an excuse as to why I'd overtaken him. But this was like years ago, and I think it's kind of dated. And you're just seeing many more genders on track. It's really good. Many more genders. What am I on about? Loads of plenty more men and women on the track.
That's spot on. That's really good to hear that you feel at this day, especially.
That there's even been progress over the years. I mean, that's huge that you can feel that and not feel like the whole sport is stuck somewhere. I mean, that's the best to hear, that there's progress.
I'll add a little bit of ad lib on that though. So I work as a journalist now for Bike World, and to me the measure of success of I'm going to say equinity. That's not even a word. To me, the measure of success in reaching kind of equilibrium having both male and female journalists and reporting or in motorsport is when a video goes onto YouTube and none of the comments mention that, oh, this is a nice new female presenter. So 90% of the comments are about the bike and my opinion on the bike, and them corroborating or disputing my opinions on the bike. Brilliant. Love all that.
Perfect.
But if I can have, if there's no comment on this is a female journalist or this is a female motorbike rider, then we've reached that equivalence. So that's my measure of success in that way.
Nice. Oh, fantastic. That kind of goes on well to my next question, with you being an engineer.
Yeah.
So your understanding, of course, not necessarily just mechanical, but can you explain to us a little bit about your engineering degree as well, quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So although I had kind of irrelevant A levels, I wanted to, I thought about what my real passions were, and it was basically taking stuff apart and putting it back together again. So I was slightly late to uni, but then having figured out what I really wanted to do, which basically I wanted to do engineering or some form, and I was incredibly passionate about a kind of aerospace and arguably a lot of defense aircraft. So there's some air shows in Jersey that I saw where the Harrier jump jet would do a bow in the kind of the amphitheater of our bay, and the whoosh and sound of the red arrows flying past, or a Eurofighter on both afterburners. It's like, oh god, this is amazing. So, and then I had the connection of my love of motorbikes. My dad deeply regrets bringing a Yamaha Pasola home, a little 50cc bike with a basket and a box, and that was me set. That like biking is life now. So I had that kind of tangible engineering connection. So I pursued that degree wise, which was really, really hard work. So I spent like 6 years there doing foundation years because my A levels weren't right for doing an engineering degree. And then I did a year in industry at Rolls-Royce, which I'm very proud to work for now, and then took it up to masters. But that gave me, a lot of information in my head about titanium and what to do with it. And kind of put me through our paces that way. What that's done now is at least give me an appreciation of the mechanics of motorbikes. I think there's a bit of a difference between what you know from a degree and passing an exam and what the real world is like. And certainly the real world of, say, motorbike racing involves breaking your motorbikes and putting them back together again. So I've had to do a lot of mechanical learning that your degree does not fill in the gaps for. So this CB500 behind me, it's been in bits, but I can now comfortably strip carburetors because my degree didn't tell me that. My friend in the shed down the road from my house was like, this is a carburetor, these are the needles, this is the throttle body. It's like, oh, okay, this needs to stay clean, this is the idle jet. And I'm like, and so I've had to learn a lot more about what a combustion engine is, as it were, along with the kind of basics I've learned from my, well, not basics, a level of deep learning from my degree.
Sure.
But what that's kind of done in the sense that my pursuit of my engineering career has paid for my racing career. That racing is ridiculously expensive. It's probably as you're trying to provide bikes that are good value for money and save all that extra money in cash onto making a road bike track ready, but it is expensive, and especially if you're going to learn on racing, and I wish we didn't fall off, but we do, and it happens. But that engineering career has given me the funding to race, and that's what's been quite important.
Fantastic answer, brilliant.
I'm going to go a little off track here, but did you also mention now you work for Rolls-Royce, you're a journalist, and you have an engineer's degree? So this is like, how many jobs do you have?
We haven't really covered all of them yet. Yeah, so I've got three main Venn diagrams. Is an engineer at Rolls-Royce. I'm really proud to work for them, and they've been a great company kind of to grow with. So really happy with that. Then I'm also an Army reservist, so I went through Sandhurst, a commissioned officer in the Army. So I also do that part-time. And then this kind of growth of the bike journalist side of things. So I started racing, and that's given me the credibility to ride well and know what a good bike feels like. And then I set up my YouTube channel about 6 years ago just to find a better balance between work, rest and play, and to want to spend more time riding bikes. And so that's the kind of 3 parts of my life. But then obviously what we're not talking about is friends, family, relaxing time, creativity, everything that really matters, because when all of this finishes, I still, obviously friends and family are really critical and important. So I've got to balance all that as well.
That's a long balancing act.
Yes, it is.
Spot on. I mean, I'm really happy with your answers. It's really cool to see someone super passionate about the engineering, and then of course on the racetrack you're very similar to myself in that way, and it's really cool to have the chance to chat to someone who's so bubbly about it. It's really cool.
It's brilliant.
When's
I've just
going
come
to be
back from a couple of bike launches. So sorry for cutting in. I've just come back from Spain thrashing this Kawasaki Z500 around some Spanish roads. But so similar to coming back off a test circuit, I don't think the come down's happened yet. I think I'm still on that high.
Spot on. When's the next time you're out on the track this year?
Oh, I think I need to check. There's a Honda E-Clutch launch, but in Marseille, but I don't think they're taking us anywhere near a track. I don't actually have any track time directly planned yet. The racing last year was phenomenal, and I'm sure you might want to come up to one of those questions where I can celebrate some more Krämer love. But next time on track, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet, because I'm probably going to do some on-road and maybe track journalism, but I don't know when that'll turn up in the diary.
Oh, that's exciting.
Spot on. Good. Do you want to finish off on a Krämer question then?
Yeah, you can just tell how was it last year riding the Krämers for you, and I don't even know what a proper question would be to even ask.
What was your gaps for you? Let me just get some props. 2 seconds.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, props.
You probably don't want to record this bit in case you can see the fact I've got my pajama trousers on. So
that's all right.
We've got props already. So yeah. Obviously, the backstory, I was lucky enough to be approached by Krämer UK, and they wanted me to race their Krämer Evo in the Supermono Championship. So Eddie Roberts got me on one of his bikes, and I took it for a ride around Donington just to see how it felt. And the first kind of initial impressions was, I'm clearly on a track bike, but it's kind of moderated. It's not horrifically uncomfortable. There are other track bikes out there where you're really forced into quite an aggressive racing stance, and the Krämer felt, comfortable and suited for me. I'm 5'10" with like a 32-inch inside leg, so ergonomically everything's in the right place, planning a bit of a clip-on adjustment. And then what I initially realized, especially on the Evo, was I basically wasn't revving it enough. My head was like, it's a single, it's low down, mid-range torque, and then it just tops out and drops off. the topping out and dropping off was something I had to relearn, because you can actually rev them pretty damn high for a single. You do then get that drop off, but there is a nice little sweet spot where Eddie was like, you need to start revving it. I was like, okay, I'll start doing that. And then when I think it was, yeah, starting to kind of feel its way through hairpins, or it's still, you know, where a heavier bike would perhaps feel more planted, especially around Donington. When you get to like the loops or the S's of Donny or the hairpin, is then where you've got that nimbleness and flickability that kind of comes back in. So I made quite a lot of progress on that mono. And as a result, I went to Cadwell Park. So this is about 3 races into the season, turned up into a class where we're racing super twins, and I was representing on the only single. And in my category, I managed to totally sweep up every race. So that led to 3 races and 3 trophies.
Ooh.
And that is, so
yeah, you can't even carry them all.
I'm so proud. But that's, obviously I've got a fair few years of racing behind me, but the Krämer just complemented how I ride and what I wanted to do. And once I learned how to make it sing, this is what happens, you know. And that's credit to the bike, credit to the team with Eddie and Ali,
and credit to you.
And yeah, just sending it.
Awesome. That's nice experiences to have on something special like that bike, but also to be able to say you've gone into a pretty competitive field, and you've claimed up some of those nice trophies. It's fantastic. Yeah. Brilliant. Nice.
Yeah, great. I think we have tons of
More than enough we need.
Tons of fantastic stuff here. This was awesome. It was really great to like learn your story and hear about all this exciting stuff that you've done, even with our bikes, which is really cool too. And I'm happy that we get some good information that there's a lot less adversity that women have to face in the field. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we're getting there.